Alright. Welcome to Mythos Tales. As I'm going to be reading everything out, hope you're prepared. Welcome to the world of H.P. Lovecraft's Arkham, Massachusetts.
Is this an American game? Perchance, is this an American game?
Right, whatever, intro.
Arkham's in America, isn't it?
Yeah, Massachusetts.
Right, yes, you just
We
said
said
that.
it like a dozen times today.
Well, I wasn't listening, I'm going to be good at this.
Yeah, you're right there, you'll be fine.
Hello, and welcome back to Ready Steady Play. I'm joined again by Barry and Danny.
Hello.
We're going to be playing Mythos Tales.
All about the H.P. Lovecraft's Mythos. Mythos Tales, we do know how to say it right, we just choose not to. It's a game of Lovecraftian horror. The system follows, it's very similar to Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective, if you've ever played that. What will happen is we'll be given a task from a book. Then we'll use the information we get from there to choose where to go next. It's a sort of choose your own adventure type thing. We'll locate where we're going and see if that corresponds to a passage within the, not the quest, the adventure that we're on. And from there we'll learn more information which will inform where we go to next, where we go to next, where we go to next. At the end there'll be a series of questions asked, and depending on what locations we visited and what we found out, then that's going to determine how well we can answer those questions, and the higher the points, the better. In this, unlike Sherlock Holmes, where you're only competing against Holmes for a score, this is a sort of campaign built into it, whereby if you do well in the first adventure, you'll get a bit more information for your second adventure. You may get additional items, which is something that Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective doesn't have, or a number of different things. You might get an extra bit of information, you might get access to a new person, things along those lines. It'll be a little bit more persistent than the individual cases, but any one of these cases can be played independently. However, worth pointing out now, and similar to our Arkham Horror review as well, this game only comes with 8 cases in the box, and once you've played them you can't really go back and do it again. Once you know what those questions are and once you know the answers to those questions, that is it. So this is going to be a full-on spoiler for anybody that's wanting to play this themselves. If you're not planning on getting it, or if you just want to see how one plays out, you'll actually be able to play along with us on this one. We'll read out the paragraphs. You won't get to choose where we go, but you'll get to hear all the information that the players get, and then when we come to the questions you can pause it, you can answer the questions yourself, and see what kind of score you got as well. So a bit more of a play along type one here.
Or maybe, if you've played it yourself and you want to see how we're doing.
Yeah, if you want to see how poor the points are.
Basically, if you want to rage at YouTube for an hour and a half or whatever, and just be like, you idiot!
The bakery has nothing to do with it.
The best pastries.
I already marked the bakery on the map, it's there.
Now, I've played through this first case, so I'm just going to narrate. If you're playing yourself, you don't need a narrator, you don't need somebody to control it. You're able to investigate and read at the same time, as long as you make sure you're not skipping ahead, looking at other paragraphs that you shouldn't be looking at, things along those lines. But these guys you've not played before, and you've not played Sherlock Holmes before?
No. Well, I played Sherlock Holmes once a long time ago.
A long time ago. So just to explain what happens, I'm going to read out the introduction, and then the lead investigator in this one is going to alternate each turn, and you get to choose where you go next. Okay, so there are locations in the directory. If you need to know where you're going, you'll be able to look them up here, and that will correspond to a number like L37. In this big book here, I'll go to L37 and I will read out what's at that location, if anything, not always something there. At which point, play will pass and choose the next location to go to. Again, unlike Sherlock Holmes, so if you're coming in for sort of comparisons, this is timed. We have a time tracker here. You can see that on the smaller camera. By the middle of day 5, that is the end. You can't continue beyond that time. If you've not solved it by then, you still have to go to the end and do the questions. Whereas Sherlock Holmes, you've got as much time as you want, but you get less points as you go along.
Oh.
So this is
So why is there day 6 and 7? Is that for other adventures?
for different adventures. This adventure is going to end on the afternoon of day 5. So it's going to give you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 locations maximum to visit.
No pressure.
But at any point, if you feel like, okay, I've got all the information, anything I'll go find now is just fluff, it's just other stuff. Because you get more points, or you lose points for more locations. Does that make sense? So if you can solve it much quicker, you get more points. And the more points you have, the more likely you're to get a benefit for a future adventure.
I already solved it. It was the runaway cat with the missing artifact.
It was yeah, he was the old curator. So that's it. So from here on, that's the overview. Anything after this could be spoilers or likely to be spoilers. So up to yourself if you watch. As I say, you will be able to play along on the YouTubes, and you can see if you can get a better score than these guys here. Right, spoilers. So, welcome to the world of H.P. Lovecraft's Arkham, Massachusetts. Set in the 1920s and 30s, evil lurks in the heart and history of Arkham's brooding streets, preying upon the weak and bold alike. Those who cannot resist the dark call and seek out forbidden knowledge. Professor Henry Armitage, director of the Orne Library at Miskatonic University, has asked for your help to investigate a broad range of diabolical mysteries. Certainly there will be a reasonable explanation for all the horrors you're soon to witness. Your sanity may depend on it. There may be a reasonable explanation why Arkham's sanitarium remains crowded. Armitage is your longtime friend and mentor, so he passes on a bitter warning before you start down this path. Your nights are soon to be filled with shadows. Spooky.
All nights are filled with shadows, Armitage.
Right, so you're not in this. You're not in this strictly alone. You're going to have allies that you can refer back to and talk to. I'm just going to very quickly go through them there, but these are the guys that I've listed here. So Professor Miss Moneypenny, Professor Henry Armitage tells you sternly. Now, I'm going to do
I like you doing a Scottish accent. That's funny.
Now, before you're tasked with solving your first case, I must give you a list of people and places that will prove invaluable, I am sure. Visiting these allies is a great way to find new leads and steer your investigation back on track if you find yourself in a bind. However, choose carefully. You can't visit many of them in any investigation unless your goal is to waste precious time. So you can visit Armitage himself. He's at C213 in the library.
Can you see this map on that camera?
We can maybe or maybe not. So C23 is up the top, right? Oh no, there, yeah. So this is the library. Probably have that there. Then Dr. Vincent Sutton is a trauma surgeon and chief pathologist at St Mary's Teaching Hospital, C11. Miskatonic's Professor Leonore Robinson is a great source of information on all matters historical. She's an expert on the oral history of the Miskatonic Valley and also well versed in folklore. So C17.
Now, can I ask you a question here? When we're moving, I might be jumping ahead in the rules, but when we're moving around, right, does it take us longer to get from, say, Armitage to Leon than just to get from Armitage to, I don't know, this place?
It does not, no.
That seems unrealistic.
I can add additional time if you wish, but no, because it takes up a morning, afternoon, or evening. Arkham's not so big that you can't get to another location, but by the time you've spoken to somebody and found out what they know, that's more.
Right. So the problem, you can move between the professors and the doctors relatively quickly, but then their lectures are really long and they're extremely verbose. So
you maybe have to wait to speak to them or something along those lines.
Huge queues of students with papers.
For example. The rest of the people you can work with: Amelia Sargent, librarian at the Orne Library. She can assist with research. She also has access to the restricted section of the library.
She's here as well. Basically so you can actually move from Armitage to her. They're in the same building, but it still uses up half a day.
No, so that is the only one that does not use up any time. So moving from C23 to C23A does not use up time. But then again, when you go to Armitage, basically he just makes fun of you anyway and says, go out and solve it, you morons.
So there we go, free bit of meta information there, Danny. Make a note of that. Armitage, not helpful.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm not. To be honest, I've actually not been to him, but I'm basing this on Sherlock Holmes. So this is meta gaming, where Sherlock Holmes is just like, yeah, I've already solved this, why are you here? William Coffin, Shady Fellow, Fleetwood Diner, So he's like criminal underbelly. Nicholas Stoltenstall, all the sort of public records, birth, death, marriages, those kind of things.
Stoltenstall.
Yeah, Stoltenstall. Interesting name. Inspector Morris Garrison of Garrison Street fame is the heads up the detectives at Arkham Police Station. Herbert Corbett is the criminologist, so if you ever need, if somebody's gone to send information off to them, you go visit him. Does that make sense? If there's crime evidence to investigate. Arlo Hoppin is a dispatcher and cabbie for the Arkham Yellow Cab Company. Dorothy Davis is with the Arkham Historical Society. Good luck reading my writing.
Danny made this, Barry made this handy illegible cheat sheet.
Yeah, well, you can have this. Pasquale Fenton is the resident occultist and spiritualist. Sebastian Lyman is a member of the Order of the Silver Twilight, but is also a mole. So he's not a real cultist, okay? So
no, he's two-faced.
Yep. Donnie Clark, reporter for the Arkham Advertiser. And Ambrose Checkley is useful if you need to find out anything about the privileged class or the entertainment circle. And then there's two locations that might be of use. D1, Arkham
Independence Square.
Arkham Sanatorium is held within there. And finally there's a speakeasy in N4 up in the top over there. And that's it.
Somewhere here.
Yeah. Armitage home as well as U8, but again, if you visit him in his home, I'm sure he'll just call you a moron. So, actually, I don't know that, so you can go find out. Okay, so I'm going to read the intro to the first investigation. I
guess this is where the true spoilers begin.
Yeah, the last thing to note, there's a newspaper of the day which may contain information. These guys have read it already, made a few notes. They basically just transcribed the newspaper, but fine.
Pretty sure it didn't say spoopy in the newspaper. It's my secret code.
Fine. So, just to explain, every time you choose a location, this is going to advance. Yeah, apart from the C23 in our Armitage's office. And then once you get to here, that's your last chance, then we have to go to the resolution.
Got
So
it.
you've got 14 locations max. You can use these to denote places on there. This could be the lead investigator token.
Making a note here, M46 equals yummy bakery.
Yeah, that's very important.
When we get hungry.
Yep.
And
Can't
so,
investigate in an empty stomach. Everyone knows
The
that.
first action every day is going to be go to the bakery.
Every morning, yeah.
as it is
Can we
wasted time.
start at the bakery?
Come on, guys, serious business. Right, a grain of evil. This is the case. Investigation 1, Arkham, Massachusetts, June 30th, 1929. Responding eagerly. Oh, I'm gonna have to read proper. Right, stand by. Spoilers. Responding eagerly to a telegram from your friend and mentor, you rush to the Miskatonic University Orne Library. There is a warm summer breeze gently rustling the trees, allowing the dappled sunlight to flicker lightly onto the streets. You cross the university quadrant to reach a great Gothic entrance. Professor Henry Armitage, Miskatonic's erudite librarian, greets you at the polished wooden door to his office. He leans on his cane, his wrinkled face cracking into a smile. Well then, I have an interesting little problem for us to explore. It's been some time since we exercised your deductive faculties, so how about a simple mystery to get you going again? Obviously, there's a chance that the events last evening involved more than a simple crime, but I do not believe that to be the case. However, after my experience of last summer, one can never be too careful. He shudders visibly upon alluding to his confrontation with the Whateleys in the village of Dunwich. Armitage settles in a chair, adjusting the violets on his desk. Inspector Garrison called over breakfast this morning and precipitated my note to your good self. It seems the inspector is at a loss and requires our specialist assistance. Last evening, as you may have noticed from this morning's edition of the Arkham Advertiser, a disturbance occurred on West High Street. It was a pleasant enough evening, and at 7 o'clock the streets were relatively full. A young woman, well dressed and of seemingly good health, collapsed on the sidewalk after emerging in a state of distress from Upton Park. A small crowd gathered to assist the young lady. An orderly from St Mary's Hospital and his wife stooped to revive her, and the policeman was found. The orderly noticed a crimson stain seeping onto the woman's blouse. He slit the garment free with his pocket knife. At once the horrific nature of the wound in the lady's chest was apparent, and he stemmed the steadily increasing flow of blood. I'm happy to report that the disaster was averted by his quick thinking. An ambulance arrived in good time to take her to the hospital, and they have managed to stabilise her condition. The librarian pauses to sip coffee from a delicate cup. The policeman assumed this was an attack by an unknown assailant until the woman regained consciousness momentarily in the ambulance. She raved nonsensical syllables before crying out that the trees were alive. Alive! Whilst dealing with the mysterious lady, the policeman was sharp-eyed enough to spot a man lingering in the crowd of onlookers. The man was acting in a furtive way, watching the proceedings with a curious detachment. He was tall, over 6 feet, with a warm brown suit and dark hair and a distinctive birthmark under his left eye. When the policeman called out to the man, he fled the scene. Being preoccupied with the lady, the policeman was not able to pursue, and noted a description in his pocketbook. Armitage sits back, the leather of his chair creaking. He steeples his fingers. The identity of both the woman and this mysterious fugitive remain a mystery. It's also for us to determine if there are forces beyond the mundane at work. We better get going. Let Garrison's men take care of the crime scene. They do get rather protective. Before you set off, Armitage says, remember, if you need help, come see me at my home. I'm unlikely to be in my office when working a case. That is that.
Exciting stuff.
So yeah, there's been a crime committed, and it's up to you guys to solve it.